Okay, so this one isn't going to be about weapons. It's going to be about characters instead. And what's the point of them, I guess? So, I find whenever I play in a one-shot, I always end up really liking that one-shot character. And then when we're done the one-shot or the spotlight, in the case of what we were doing last year in the Night Parade game, where we would play spotlights focused on one of the main party, and everyone else would make like quote side characters or extra characters that we played for that spotlight, and then they kind of became backup or background characters. I found a lot of those side characters I really enjoyed, I really liked. And, well, why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. One, a lot of the time you tend to make characters that you want to play. Wild concept, right? But I think there's a few things going on. One, I also generally really like any new character I get to play when it's a new campaign or new whatever. In the first 3 to 6 sessions, it's always like this is the best fucking character ever. I fucking love this character. I only want to play this game, no other games. Shut down all other games. I only want to play this one. Like, and that's just, the new character syndrome kind of thing. But one-shot and spotlight characters particularly get this. And one of the main differences is with spotlight characters, because you have limited time, you kind of like speed run their characterization and figuring things out about them. So you get to certain points with them, and I'm always the type of player that, like, at the same time, I need a little bit of time with the character to really get them. And when the spotlight ends, like, I'm right at that point where it's like, okay, I've pretty much figured out who this guy really is. And then the spotlight's over. So, that's a big factor. And, another thing is, to me, like, the silhouette, the image of the character, and that's more than just like their physical appearance, but like the big bullet points of who they are, those always, like, it's kind of a weird phrase, but they stick out to me in my mind as the character kind of like floats there in my head. And a lot of the time, these spotlight one-shot characters end up having really appealing silhouettes. Like the lizard character we just, for our little lizard spotlight that one of the players ran, while the DM of the Night Parade game took a little, I guess it was a 3-week hiatus. I fucking love that character. He's an asshole lizard thief that runs around stabbing people with 2 little knives. He's a coward with a smart mouth, and he was a lot of fun. It was great. I'd love to play him again. But now this character was designed basically just for, quote, this spotlight. Designed with another player that this character, they're working on this road. It was already kind of bumpy, but there's lots of asphalt patches and other shit that it's worse while they work on it now. But so I'm pulling up to a stoplight now. But this character, he's effectively the familiar of one of the other characters. So one, he's kind of disposable in a way. So there's a wrinkle. he's got some connections outside of the character he's bound to, but that's like his main motivating thing would be like outside of this spotlight. If he were in a normal campaign where we'd have longer term goals, his longer term goal would be something like, well, escape this kind of bondage, find a way to no longer be a familiar. That would be a big thing, because for him, I think especially, as soon as he became a familiar, he probably didn't age anymore. Like, he's, in a way, this is a kind of immortality. So maybe he would decide not to. You know, that's something to explore. And these kind of things, to me, are what characters are really about. Like the long-term arc. Like what you set up pieces, you figure out who the character is, sitting like around those pieces. You play the game, see how the events of the story, how it pushes and pulls that character's ideology, and see what choices it forces them to make, what choices they really don't want to make and are forced to, or what choices they do want to make but can't. Like, you know, all those types of, that's the meat of a character for me. Like, that's what they're really about. And Spotlight characters don't have that. Maybe that's another reason I really end up liking the Spotlight characters, because I feel that, like, missed potential, if you want to put it in a really dramatic phrase. Because it's not exactly missed potential, it's just, you know, this character's not in a full game. But that's one of the main things I try to design my characters around at the end of the day. Or maybe not even try, that's just what ends up happening for me. It's just a given. Those kinds of, that's what I always want to explore with a character. There's this bumpy section of road. I'll just let you look at me for 15 seconds or so. How you doing? Gather my thoughts for a moment. So, those types of things for a character are largely what I do. And whenever I get a character that kind of like misses the mark there and doesn't, and ends up without any like real long-term goal, like things like that, I get really bored of the character. There's two characters I can think of that kind of ended up that way. There was Lorciar, which was he was a Leonin ranger I played in one game. He was set up to be it was supposed to be like this all Fae related party, and he was going to be one of those like kidnapped or exchanged changeling figures. Like he was swapped with a changeling when he was a baby, so he never knew his real family, or his family traded him in a Fae bargain, something like that. And he ended up losing his memories of his family. He remembered some of his, like, his training and stuff. So he's kind of like not Fae royalty, but Fae, like, you know, nobility or something like that. But like set up that backstory, and then there was really nowhere to go with it. Like there was nothing else to do with that. Without like big DM pressure, like the DM would have to like present certain things to trigger some kind of conflict with that backstory, because otherwise he's like kind of content because he doesn't remember anything. So I couldn't think of a way to bring up those kinds of conflicts with that character. And to me, as a result, he was kind of boring. He was just kind of there for the ride. And that's not always the worst thing, but it's not what I'm looking for in a character. And then another character was in the Pathfinder game we did for a little bit, Logirth. He was just he was a dwarf ranger. I don't know what it is about these rangers. Like the other rangers I've played, I love. My first character was a ranger, Hanich the Lizard Folk. Also he was kind of a fish out of water character. And in the 40K game, that character's the ranger equivalent, and he's fantastic. But this dwarf ranger, Logirth, he was almost kind of like a blank slate, because I didn't really have a lot of it was kind of, I don't want to blame the system or anything, but like when I was making the character, I was so focused on like the mechanics and stuff. It was like, oh yeah, there's a character under all these numbers. Like, fuck. So he was kind of bare bones, you know? And maybe if we had more time with that game, either I would have switched him out for someone else. Like, one, I really had the concept that became that cowardly lizard folk rogue I just played. That same concept was scratching at the back of my mind. I probably would have played something along those lines in that Pathfinder game instead, but either would have swapped him out for someone else, or just, you know, added some stuff to the character and figured him out more, and that would have been great. Because, you know, I liked him otherwise. It's just he needed a bit more to him. And, you know, sometimes that's a process. You don't come up with it right away. But I think what I'm really getting at here is, for me, like, almost the system I'm playing in kind of doesn't matter. So a lot of the time, okay, there's a point here. It's in my brain somewhere. There's a point. Like, ultimately, I just want to play these characters, and I don't care as much about the system as long as the system works. And that's a big gray area, because works can mean a lot of different things. Like, in our 40K game, we're probably, I keep saying probably, we intend, I guess now, to switch to the Deathwatch system. After this mission concludes, I'll run Site 27, and then the next go around we'll be switching to the Deathwatch system, unless it's too complicated or something. But to me, I'd be perfectly fine sticking with the system we're in. It feels like it works. I like a lot of what the DM has homebrewed for us, but it's itching at the DM because it's just 5e. They're tired of 5e. It's, you know, done it for a long time. Want to try out this new system that seems to work perfectly for Space Marines. So we're going to be switching to that. But at the end of the day, to me, it doesn't really matter what system we're in. So at first glance, all I see is, I got to learn this new system just to be able to access this character I already access. It's kind of, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. And it was something similar for Pathfinder, like, you know, got to learn the system. And that's not just like, okay, learning how these mechanics interact. It's getting a real feel for the system by playing it. Like, you can look up how the rules work all you want, but you got to play the game to really figure it out. So, but whether that's a good or a bad thing, system kind of doesn't matter to me. I just want to get to a point where I'm proficient enough in a system and the system runs smoothly enough that I can just play the character. At the end of the day, that's what I care about. So there's like multiple ways the system kind of doesn't matter to me. But at the same time, of course, I want a system that works and feels good. Because if it's just like, okay, you enter a combat room, everyone roll a d10. How many people got above 5? 3, okay, you win the encounter. Good job, guys. Move on to the next room. Like, that would be a terrible system. Oh my god. Oh, you can add to your backflip bonus? Okay, you got a +1. All four of you succeed? Okay, that is a great success. Very nice. You all get 1 loot token you can cash in at the end of the game. So I don't know, I'm making up as boring of a system I can think of. So, but I mean, I wouldn't want to play that, but yeah, I guess that's kind of the point. Like, what's the point of a character? To me, is to play the character, not necessarily to invoke whatever the character's mechanics are. But at the same time, the mechanics should be good, and they should work, they should be fun, because that's the game you're playing, you know? It's almost like the game you're playing is the justification for the character, or the skeleton, or the framework, and playing the character is just kind of the, maybe the secret sauce, maybe the underlying goal. I'm not really sure, but it's something like that. I don't know exactly. Je ne sais quoi, the whatever, you know. That's it. That's all I got for you today. I guess a little extra rambly. Enjoy that.